Hello, welcome to lesson 3 of your percent unit. If you're on lesson 3 and you have not done the Ed puzzle for lesson 2, please go back and do the Ed puzzle for lesson 2. So, in our last lesson, we talked about percent of a number is in we found we have percent of a whole is a part. And we worked on how do you find the missing percent, the missing whole number, and the missing part of that number when we're dealing with these percent proportions, okay? Today we're going to take that same percent proportion, but we're going to see how we can change it to always find percent of change, okay? But what is percent of change? Well, it is the percent by which an amount, so the percent by which an amount increases or decreases. Okay. So with the percent change proportion, we are going to take the proportions we were using in lesson 2 and we're going to apply it to how to find the percent change. So again, over 100, sorry guys, that should be a C. There we go. Over 100 should always be the percent, okay? So we've got the percent change over 100, but how do we find out how something changes? Well, for finding the difference, we are going to subtract. So, but over here in our proportion, we're going to do amount of change from subtraction over the original number. Because the original number represents how much 100% is, okay? So 100 should stay with the original. The change is what we're looking for because we're looking for percent change. But we are always just going to be looking for that percent change, okay? So why keep writing a proportion when we could write an equation? So what we're going to do now is we're going to change this proportion into an equation we can use, okay? So I want to isolate my variable. So I'm going to multiply each side by 100. Cancels out here, okay? So now I have my percent isolated, and we're going to rewrite that for you guys. Really nice up here. So the percent change proportion, we're going to use x as a percent is equal to the amount of change over the original times 100. And this is going to be, I'm going to fix that parentheses, like a C. So you're always going to subtract, divide, then multiply. That's the order that you're doing this in. So subtract, divide, then multiply. And since this is our main equation we are going to be using the entire time, I want you definitely highlighting that. Okay? There we go. So throughout this, you're going to be asked to use the percent proportion to help you solve this. I am going to change that to the percent change equation. All right. So determining whether something, so we're moving down here now. Determining whether the percent of change is an increase or a decrease. So an increase is if the new amount is greater than the original, because then it's obviously gone up. And a decrease, the new amount is less than the original. But how do you find that change? You need to add one note. So we're going to find change by finding the difference. And in parentheses, go ahead, but subtracting if you forgot what finding the difference means. Okay, I'm going to move on to the example. If you need to finish taking the notes, please pause the video. Okay, here is our example. A book originally cost $13. It now costs $9.50. Find the percentage change. So we're going to go through our steps on the left, and we're going to see it in action on the right. So you are going to need a pencil and highlighter for this. So the first thing we need to do is find the amount by which the price changed. So we have to find the amount of change by subtraction. So what they did here was $13 was the original minus $9.50 equals $3.50. I'm also going to note that the price went down. So I'm going to note that. All right, this next part is actually setting up a proportion. But I'm going to say, with your pencil, I want you to point downward and say, use equation. So we can think about it as a proportion in our little brains, but I want us using this equation instead. So what I've done is for step 3 is I've crossed out some things, and then I have written the equation. So number 3 should be solve the equation. So we want to substitute in, and then solve the equation. So there's a little bit of editing having to do here because we don't have to make it this complicated if we know what our equation looks like. And then the last thing is to label your answer as an increase or decrease. And I thought about it already in step 1, so it is a decrease. So in your calculator, let's just make a special note. You're going to press in 350 and you're going to divide by 13. You're going to hit the equal button, and then that's going to be 100. Multiply by 100. Okay. So again, we'll go over the calculator steps for each of the problems in our examples. Alright. These last 3 examples before you get to try some on your own. For goodness sakes. Find the percent of change. Okay, so when you're using this, always think this is my percent of change equation. Okay, so this is not going to work unless we are talking about percent of change. So when we're coming to a general test or a quiz or an application, make sure that you're only using this for percent of change. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary, and labels your answer as an increase or decrease. This is always really important to just read your directions. So, for all of these, A, B, and C, let's look at them first and decide right at the beginning if it is an increase or decrease, okay? Original 12, new is $18. Well, I would say that's going up, so it's an increase. The original is 74. The new is 55. That is going down, so that is a decrease. Notice both of those dealt with price. You're going to see that a lot in here because we'll be talking about like sale prices and markups in our next lesson. Okay, there were 1,255 students in the school last year. This year there are 1,286 students. Well, that looks like an increase to me. Okay, all right. So let's use our, if I'm going back, I want to use this equation right here for all of these problems. So the percent is equal to the change over the original times 100. All right. So I've got x. X is my percent. I'm going to use x as my variable for the percent this time. You can use the percent symbol if you prefer to help you understand this better. Okay, so I have the change over the original. So my change is the difference. So I'm going to have 18 minus 12. The original is 12. My bad. And I'm going to multiply that whole thing by 100. Okay, in your calculator, you should do 18 minus 12 first, which is 6 over 12. This is going to be very step-by-step. You can put this all in the calculator at once. I am doing it very step-by-step. So you remember to do the subtraction, then the division, then the multiplication. Okay, 6 divided by 12, if I put that in the calculator, that gives me 0.5. 0.5 times 100 is your next step, and that is 50. So it's 50%, and we already said increase. So if you were just watching and waiting, all of this right here, which I'm going to highlight, I think. That happened. That right there, you don't have to highlight that. I just want to bring attention to it. Those were my calculator steps, okay? So that doesn't necessarily have to be written down. You can just go from the equation to the answer, as long as you know how to put this in the calculator correctly. Okay. Next one, x equals, remember we're always going to end up with a positive number as our change, so just always subtract the lower from the higher. So 74 minus 55, no negative numbers here. And my original was 74. That all gets multiplied by 100. So if I put this in the calculator, I'm going to do 74 minus 55 first. It's really important to know how to do these in the calculator correctly so you get the right answer. I'm getting my calculator. Just give me a second. 74 minus 55. It should be 19. Yes, it is. So 19 is my first step I get in the calculator. The second thing I'm going to do in the calculator is I'm going to divide 19 by 74. Ooh, and that gives me a little decimal. I'm going to leave that decimal in the calculator. It's about before I multiply it by 100. Or I can just write it as 4 decimal points or 3. So 0.257 or 257 thousandths. I'm going to multiply that by 100. It gives me a 25.7% decrease. again, this middle part, I'm going to highlight it. This is a part you do not have to write down. This is me showing how to put this in the calculator. Okay, last one with these very detailed calculator parts. Okay, we said this was an increase. Okay, so I'm going to set up my proportion or my equation. And what is the difference in students from one year to the next? So it's 1,286 minus 1,255. And I am going to divide that by the original, which is the students in the school last year. 1,255. That whole thing gets multiplied by 100. So let's do this again one more time, step by step. 1,286 minus 1,255 is going to be 31. So my first step is to subtract. So it's 31 divided by 1,255. I am predicting this is going to be a small number. Multiply that by, not multiplying yet, I'm dividing, right? So 31 divided by 1,255. Well, that did give me a small number. 0. Not 2. Jumping the gun. 0.0247, but I'm just going 3 decimal places. So 0.025. I'm going to fix my zeros here. Sometimes you guys can't read my handwriting. And then I'm just going to, I haven't cleared this out of my calculator. I'm just going to multiply that by 100. And that gives me a 2.5% increase. Okay. So I know that was a lot. And again, I put all of these highlighted parts are what I put in the calculator. And if you need to catch up on notes, go ahead and press pause. Okay, so the last part, we're going to assign some problems. You're going to try to answer them. You're going to put the answers into this, what is this called? Edpuzzle. And then we're going to go over the answers. So we are going to be doing the odds, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So why don't we go ahead and start with those. I'm going to help you set up the first one. So X. So we're going to find the percent change and label with increase or decrease. So the original is 85. The new is 100. So I would say that's definitely an increase. I'm going to set up my equation. X equals 100 minus 85. The original is 85. And that all gets multiplied by 100, right? Okay, so set up each one like this. Think about whether it's an increase or decrease. And then we will go over the answers. Okay, you should know whether or not you got these right from your Edpuzzle. Should be a feedback right away. So I am just going to place these answers up here. All I've done is I have noted whether or not it's an increase or decrease before I even start. Did it go up? Did it go down? I've written out my percent equation. So find the difference, divide by the original, multiply by 100, and then I wrote the percent and whether or not it's increased or decreased. So all you have to do is press pause if you need to make some corrections. Okay, and now we just have 2 problems to do down here. number 11, and number 13. And this is an identify and correct the error. Okay? So in your ed puzzle, it's just going to ask you to describe the error. I can look back at those questions really quickly. So go ahead and see if you can find the error. Describe it. There will be an error. Describe it in Edpuzzle, and then come back to see what it actually is. Okay, you will notice you did not have any Edpuzzles questions. That is because I decided we are not doing this. As I look at this, these are all set up as proportions, and we're not doing proportions. So, ha ha ha. But you are going to be doing the word problems. So let's just go down and look at your word problems for percentage change. Percent of change word problems. So your application problems, which are on your contract, are going to be the odd numbers 1, 3, and 5. So you have 3 application problems to do on your own. So find the percent change to the nearest tenth and then label with increase or decrease. Okay, so the answers to all these application problems you're doing are going to be a Monday work time. Just so you guys know, we will be going over all of these. Don't fret, my pet. And you guys have an absolutely amazing... Oh, wait. Gotta write this too. So application problems or follow-up. But also, guess what I have? And Alex. Don't forget to do Alex. So don't forget your Alex assignment and your Alex topics. I've assigned 6 topics. That's 2 topics per lesson for this first week. I have it up all weekend. So if you don't get it today, you can do it for homework this weekend. All right. Again, with your weekend, have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you all on Monday.